All right. Hey guys, it's Leslie Hassler here with your Biz Rules Business Coaching, and we're coaching from the Carpool. Happy Monday to you. I was laughing because I think I wear this dress quite a few times in my coaching from the Carpools, and I got to be honest with you. I'm a working mom. I'm an entrepreneur. Some days I choose a workout over a shower, and this is what my husband likes to call a Leslie in a hurry dress. So Leslie in a hurry has a great dress she can throw on. If you're a mom out there, working mom, even if you have fur babies, tell me that that's you, that you got me on that. But we're here Monday. It's very bright outside. I keep wanting to put my sunglasses on because it's so bright out here in Dallas, Texas, not even in Houston. Been a great day so far. So we're talking about mastering that fun 30-second elevator pitch. Networking pitch, however you might like to put it. And I gotta say, there's some great elevator pitches out there. There are some people that have mastered for sure the art of attracting somebody's attention and getting them to want to know more. That's really all a 30-second commercial should do. But a lot of times what I see happen is we feel the need to cram it full of everything that we possibly could do. Is probably a number one mistake. Number two mistake, we focus on the work and not the pleasure in our third 30-second commercial. And I'll talk to you about that in a second. And third, we're probably not as prepared as we should be. I can be guilty of that as well. But, you know, there's really some easy things that you can do. And I started off this week with this because I gave away a 30-second makeover in an expo, I suppose is the best way to put it, where I had some vendor tables and people got to spin the wheel at my table, because why not make it a little fun? And somebody won this 30-second commercial makeover. So that's really, I was like, that's what we're going to talk about this week, because almost everyone could use to improve. Now, we'll have to say locally, I'm a member of Plano Chamber of Commerce, you know that, and we have a Friday morning leads group like most chambers do. It is a great place, guys, to go watch excellent 30-second commercials, work on your own, and I would say a safe environment, and really fine-tune those things. So if you think about it, if your chamber has a leads group, they're called different things for different chambers, but it is almost like the Toastmasters version of perfecting your 30-second commercial. So I'm going to give you some tips, but then you got to go out there and you got to keep trying it so that you can perfect it. And I really would suggest that you have 10 30-second elevator pitches, okay? And I'll tell you why in just a second. I'll tell you actually how easy that is to come up with. So the first thing you need to realize is that the 30-second commercial is meant to be, what is the word? A bouche-moi, an appetizer, right? It's meant to be a taster. It's meant to whet the appetite. It's meant to make somebody want some more. And I always use this example because most of us around, you know, at least my age, remember the movie When Harry Met Sally, and she's sitting in the dining room and she has her expressive moment in the diner with Billy Crystal. And the next table over, there's an older lady that looks at her waiter and says, "I'll have what she's having." That's the purpose of a 30-second commercial, is to get your potential client, playing with my air, it's a little warm in here too, get your potential client to say, "I'll have what she's having. I want to know more." All right, so in essence, we're just trying to get somebody to raise their hand. So in that raising of a hand, we have to A, help them identify that this is right for them, break their attention. They go, "Oh, talking to me." Two, we have to help them have desire. And one of the ways that we best can help somebody have desire is to really speak in two parts, if you will. There's two things I want you to keep in mind. One is the problem, pain, and promise. All right. So if you've been around, you might have heard me talk about the YES formula. If you don't, you want more information on it, I'm pretty sure you can search on yourbizrules.com and find it, and it will go into depth a little bit more. But essentially the YES formula, if you will, is problem times pain times promise, in parenthesis, plus plan. we've talked about the fact that if that's a strong value statement for your ideal client is going to want to say yes to you. Well, we keep this in mind when we're doing almost any form of communication. What's the problem? What's their pain? And where do they want to go with it? What's the promise of a transformation? Or what's the promise of, I always say the promised land, that if everything, they wanted to wave their magic wand that we know doesn't exist, what would that look like? What would their ideal world look like? And so you really want to be able to think about your ideal client in these terms. It helps guide, guys, it helps guide marketing content, it helps guide 30-second commercials, sales presentations, proposals. I mean, you name it, this puppy works, all right? So what you really need to do first is get in touch with your ideal client. Know what the problem is. Know what the pain is. Know what they're looking to achieve. And then tell stories. We'll go into some different methods. One I'm going to tell you is the boring method, but it's the safe method. It's what people feel like they can do first. Then we'll go into my favorite method, and then we'll wrap it up with, some additional ways that you can be using this 30-second elevator pitch or networking commercial to really drive some business in your small business. So that's step one, guys, is really think about everything you communicate with your ideal client in terms of what is their problem, what does it feel like, the pain, what does it feel like to them, and then where do they want to go with it. Now I want to say the plan part of a 30-second commercial, 30 seconds is not that long. It is actually really long, and it's not that long at all. But if you look at this, when I talk about pain, I don't want you to say you hurt, you're frustrated, those are very generic kind of terms. I would rather you talk about the pit in their belly that drops out when they realize they're not going to be able to make payroll. That's a pain, all right? I want you to talk about the absolute insecurity that they feel in their heart, and their pulse is pounding with the thought of even being able to get up on stage and knowing what to say. And that's a pain. It's a feeling. So I want you, when you're talking about the pain aspect of that little equation, I want you to paint a picture, right? I want you to tell a story, not try to be too succinct in it, because we're trying to connect on an emotional level. And it's really, really key. I am a firm believer that people buy on emotion and they justify on logic, right? We have to address both sides of it. Even if you're an engineer who's highly logical, there's still some emotion there, all right? So that's what we want to engage when we talk about the pain, is we're trying to invoke an emotion. Almost regardless of what you've said, if they've ever identified with that emotion or feeling that way, they're instantly engaged with you. And that's such a challenge in a 30-second commercial, to get that kind of engagement. You can talk about the promise. Again, where are they trying to go to? How does that feel? What confidence boost do they have? What does it feel like? What does it look like? I had a mindset coach that I was working through something. So I was like, okay, it's up here. Let me go try to tackle that. And we were talking about a few things, and she asked me, she's like, what does it taste like? I mean, this is an inanimate object that she's talking about, but it was a great exercise. She's like, what does it taste like? What does it smell like? What does it look like? What would it hear? What would you hear? And what would it feel like? If you can describe the problem and the promise in those terms, you'll get to the pain, and especially in the promise, but you'll get to the joy. You'll get to the pain as part of the problem. You'll get to the joy as part of the promise. Too many P's. I don't know why I did this to myself. But you really need to focus there. So how do you get this done? Well, it's a challenge. If you don't have any clients, you're probably going to be guessing. However, what I found is a lot of people have experienced the same problem that they're trying to solve in their business as part of their service. So whatever that problem that you experience, go from it firsthand. It's the best groundwork, okay? You keep it real. Like I said, Leslie in a fairy dress, just keeping it real. The second thing is, if you do have clients, I want you to stop and think about your top 3 clients. All right? And really think about, what was their problem? Why did they come to you? How did it feel like? And then what were you able to solve for them? And what does that look like? And how do they describe that? Now, if you can't put words into this, offer to take your client for coffee or lunch. It's a great way to maintain your relationship, and just ask them. It's crazy. Your best clients love you enough to tell you. It's an amazing thing. So just be able to start writing down these stories, okay? And even if you I find it's a lot of times easier for people to express it verbally than it is to sit down and type it out or write it out. If that's you, great, grab a partner and ask them, what is the problem that you solve, right? Why is that important? What does it feel like? What does it look like? What does it taste like? What sounds do people hear? You know, is it they can hear this internal bell clanging in their head? It doesn't have to be a real sound. It can be a perceived sound. You know, ask them to do that. You know, what is it? What do they wake up in the middle of the night thinking? What are they thinking when they're in the shower? What are they thinking about when they're driving in the car? What does that manifest itself as? What happens when you solve the problem? What then happens? What are they able to get back to their lives to doing? Like, have somebody ask you these questions. I just rattled off a whole lot of them. Go back to this recording. Stop and start. Start and stop. And record your answers back. That's really where the goodness is. Most people, and like my client this morning, and even though it was a giveaway they wanted, still a client, right? Started off talking about the plan, the what they do or the how they do it. By the time we left, she had, this was after an hour, 15 different one-to-ones just by going through that one exercise of talking about the clients and why. And then have somebody ask you, why is that important? Why is that important? Why is that important? Yeah, but why? Why is that important? I know you might not like the repetition of that question, but it's a really powerful exercise. In fact, when you get to the underbelly, when you get to the part of the why you do what you do, the why it's important, the why they should work with you, the why they should have your product, whatever it is, you actually start to dig into that secret sauce. Now, I'm a proponent of the fact that if you're in a service-based business, I don't care how many people do what you do, you should not have competition if you can communicate this. And this is one of those keys. So start there. Make a whole bunch of notes. Take the stories, the minute you think of a story, and start listing them out. Because this is what your clients actually go through. If you want a future-forward method, you know, I'm going through my clients right now and asking them for more Google reviews, and part of this was sparked by a inbound lead that came in, and she had looked at my reviews, and she said, wow, Leslie, your reviews are long. Like, people really took time to leave a review. It's not just a 5-star rating. And I figured if they did that, then you had to know what you were talking about. And I was like, oh, that was a great thing. Here's why that worked. Because I asked my clients 3 questions that I want them to answer in the referral. The number 1 thing is, what were you scared about? What was your biggest concern about working with me? 2, what did I do, or how did I make that fear not a concern? And then 3, what would you tell somebody else that is in your same shoes of where you were about working with me? Right? I'm asking them to talk about the transformation. I'm asking them to give an emotion that my potential clients can identify with, and then tell them what the payoff is, right? So it's basically a pain promise kind of equation. Pain promise problem kind of equation. It's everywhere. You really can use this stuff. But the good thing is now I have more stories. I have more ways to share what I do in my clients' words, not my own. Because it's all great if you stand up and say you're great at what you do, and that's what a lot of people's 30 seconds. We're expert accountants. We'll do your QuickBooks, we'll reconcile your bank account, we'll do your taxes, and then you sit down and review them too. I'm like, well, that's great. I would hope you were good at what you did. You know, it's not a selling factor, guys. The emotion, the problem, the pain, the promise, that's really where you get in for some good marketing mojo. So, that's it for today. Tell me, was it helpful? What do you think you need to learn from in your 30-second commercial? How can you improve? That's it. What I will say is we will be switching over broadcasting from the Facebook business page, Your Biz Rules, and you can easily like that page at yourbizrules.com/F as in face, B as in book. And go ahead and do that, because we'll actually set up reminders and we can do a lot of more fun things to make sure you get these episodes. But that'll probably be happening in a week or two, and I want to make sure that you don't miss out on the fun that we have here coaching in the carpool. So just in case you don't believe me, see all the other cars? I'm not driving. We're more of a parked carpool than a running carpool. And there's the school. So that's it for today, guys. This has been Leslie Hassler with Your Biz Rules Business Coaching, and we're coaching from the carpool.